My name is dúsfuir a bhar fáilte seo maidin agus gur míle magí as an iirteo spéise a léirú sa glár óga Eildánach Ilan Córáinte. So my name is John O'Lidon. I'm the Deputy Director of the Shared Island Unit here in the Department of the Taoiseach. And over the next 10 minutes, and I better start my timer for good order, over the next 10 minutes, I'll provide an overview of the wider context of the Shared Island Initiative. Some of this may be very familiar to some of you, and then others this might be new. And it's just to provide an understanding of what the Shared Island Initiative entails, and the clue being in the name of Creative Youth on a Shared Island, that this is a programme that is being enabled and supported under the Government of Ireland's Shared Island Initiative. So if I could just ask Sarah to move on to the next slide, Sarah, please. So the Shared Island Initiative is a programme for government commitment to work with all communities and traditions on the island to build consensus around a shared future, underpinned by the Good Friday Agreement. So since the establishment of the Shared Island Initiative in 2020, there has been a large number of activities that have looked to achieve this aim. And over the next number of slides, I'm going to talk about how this is being developed and how this has been implemented. Also, it's been mirrored in the National Development Plan, which is the Government of Ireland's infrastructure plan. And as part of this, it looks to significantly enhance the level of ambition for collaborative all-island investment cooperation. And this is done through a whole of government approach, so delivered by government departments and agencies, including the Creative Ireland programme in the Department of Tourism, Culture, Arts, Gaelic Sport and Media, working with all island partnerships, so working with colleagues in the Northern Ireland Executive, in the UK Civil Service and UK Government, local authorities throughout the island of Ireland, and then education and civil society partners. And then the programme itself is coordinated through the Shared Island Unit, with myself and colleagues in the Department of Taoiseach. We work very closely with departments and agencies across a number of projects. And then the main crux of the Shared Island Initiative itself is how do we best develop upon the promise of the Good Friday Agreement, building on the relationships both north-south and also east-west, and work with the Good Friday Agreement cross-border institutions and look at how best to develop upon the principles and commitments included in the agreement itself. So Sarah, if I could just ask you to move on to the next, that's great. So the Shared Island Initiative, there's three main strands to it. The Shared Island Fund, then also inclusive dialogue, which over the last 2.5 years, we've held 15 events with attended by over 3,200 attendees from all communities, traditions and regions, and then also an extensive policy research programme, which looks at moving beyond the anecdotal understandings of what works well across the island on a cross-border basis and what we can do to increase and develop upon that cross-border collaboration. So as part of the commitment to dialogue, we've held a large number of Shared Island Dialogue events, some of which you may have attended on areas of common concern. So included in this, we've looked at areas such as tourism, arts and culture, health systems, education systems, media representation, and many, many others. And we hope to continue that series. And each of those events, each recordings from each of those events and reports from each of those events are available on our website, sharedisland.gov.ie, if anyone is so interested. Also, something that we've been progressing over the last number of months is the Shared Island Youth Dialogue, and I know that there's some groups that are on the call this afternoon or this morning that are involved. And the Shared Island Youth Dialogue has sought to bring together 80 young people from across the island of Ireland, a group that's reflective of gender, ethnic, community, faith and other identity diversities, to meet and deliberate, to set out their vision and values for a shared future on this island. So over the last number of months, they've been looking at really pressing issues like sustainability, opportunity, well-being, equality, cultural and identity, and this will also inform how the Shared Island Initiative is programmed across government departments. So then also, as mentioned at the outset, we've also progressed a very large-scale research program, again to inform what needs to be done to work better collaboratively on a north-south basis. And as part of this, the ESRI and the South have published a large number of research outputs that look at, again, these areas of common and pressing concern. Each of these are available on our website. And as part of this research, we then speak with government departments on, are there projects, are there initiatives that can be supported through the Shared Island Fund that look to tackle some of the issues that are included in, that are highlighted as part of this research. And then the next piece is on the Shared Island Fund itself, which is probably one of the pieces that is most recognised with the Shared Island Initiative. So the Shared Island Fund is a Government of Ireland commitment of 500 million out to 2025 and a political commitment of $1 billion out to 2030 to deliver strategic investment objectives, which are set out in the revised National Development Plan. Now, the Shared Island Fund itself isn't contained within the Department of the Taoiseach, where myself and colleagues work. Allocations are made to government departments to take forward Shared Island projects in collaborative co-funding approaches. Included in this was an allocation to the Department of Tourism, Culture, Arts, Gaeltacht, Sport and Media to include a Shared Island dimension to the Creative Ireland programme. And creative use is one of the outputs from this very impactful partnership that has taken place over the last number of years. And then this is taken forward in a portfolio approach. So our interests are in projects that there are a large number of funders, both Irish government funders, but Northern Ireland Executive when it's back up, and the UK government, local authorities, EU sources, Peace Plus, etc. And then competitive funding calls for all island programmes are then progressed in collaboration with government departments and agencies in the South, often in collaboration with counterparts in the North as well. So just on the Shared Island Fund itself, so to date, since 2020, 247 million has been allocated from the Shared Island Fund, the majority of these on large-scale infrastructure projects. Now, I won't go through each of these in detail, but the slides will be circulated afterwards, and there may be some that are of interest to your own sectors, areas, or regions. The last number of allocations were in June 2023, which included €44.5 million Government of Ireland contribution to a teaching and student services building at Ulster University's Derry campus. Then also funding towards the construction of 2 new all-island bioeconomy demonstrator facilities, looking at the area of climate change and climate action. 2.5 million for a respite and therapeutic centre for children diagnosed with cancer and their families from across the island. And then also the completion of the tender process for the Narrow Water Bridge, a large-scale infrastructure project in the northeast. So again, the Shared Island Fund itself predominantly looks at large-scale infrastructure projects to increase the ambition for what can be done on a cross-border basis, but it also feeds into funding calls such as this that are ran by government departments in the South. So just onto the next slide there. So again, very quickly on the infrastructure piece. So also in the arts investment space, so 7.4 million was allocated to a number of arts investment projects collaboratively progressed by the Arts Councils North and South, including funding for the Seamus Heaney Home Place in Derry, and then Anna McCarrick in Monaghan as well. Our Irish Traditional Music Archive were also beneficiaries of this funding. So again, it's looking at what can be done across various sectors, including arts and creativity, to improve cross-border collaboration. And just onto the next slide there. So then also, understandably, a huge area of interest is the area of climate change and climate action. So again, some of you may be interested in the Shared Island Community Climate Action Programme, which is currently live at the minute and ran through local authorities and community climate action offices in local authorities in the South. And this is to enable partnerships north-south on community climate action, and that will run the gambit from large-scale projects to projects that look to involve whole communities on a north-south basis on climate action. And then also there's the All Island Electric Vehicle Charging Infrastructure Scheme. The recipients of that will be announced in the coming months, and we hope to do more in that space. So it's about looking at what can be done well on a north-south basis. And then finally, on the Shared Island Fund itself, so just, sorry, the next slide there, Sarah, please. On the Shared Island Fund itself, we've also looked at how do we build on the prosperity of both jurisdictions. This has included sizable investment in North-South research, and then also 7.6 million for collaboration between Tourism Ireland, Tourism Northern Ireland and Fáilte Ireland to link the Wild Atlantic Way and Causeway Coastal Route. Again, a very symbolic project, something that that just makes sense and makes sense that should be promoted on a cross-border basis. And then finally, what the future of the Shared Island Initiative looks like. So we'll continue to progress potential Shared Island investment projects. We hope to make a number of announcements on sizable allocations in the coming weeks. Then also to continue the Shared Island Dialogue series, looking at common societal concerns for the future. And for those of you who might be interested in attending similar events, please do not hesitate to sign up to our mailing list on our website, sharedisland.gov.ie, and then also progressing the Shared Island Research Programme. So next week, we have a report being launched at looking at housing supply factors north and south. Again, as we all understand on the call, a huge issue in both jurisdictions. And then moving very specifically onto the Creative Ireland aspect, something that we're really excited about, and we're delighted with the great work that's taken place by the Creative Ireland team. So again, some of you in the call will be very familiar with a recent funding call, the Creative Communities on a Shared Island. So 6 million was allocated in December. 6 million was allocated in December 2022 for the overall programme. And if we just move on to the next slide there. So what this has included has been 850,000 allocated for 9 new cross-border creative initiatives under the Creative Communities on a Shared Island programme, which are progressing at pace at the minute. Then also 730,000 for cross-border projects under the Creative Climate Action Fund. And then, as Tanya mentioned as well, we were delighted to see that in 2023, for the first time, Crinne na nÓg, the Day of Creativity for Young People, was programmed on an all-island basis, with events taking place in Belfast, Derry, and Omagh, and we're looking to see that expanded upon in 2024. And again, that might be something that some of you might be interested in. So again, I know that I've gone over my time, as often happens, but happy to answer any questions afterwards, and I'll hand back over to Kate now. Thank you.
Thanks a million, John. And welcome everyone. My name is Kate Delaney. I'm Assistant Principal here in the Department of Tourism, Culture, Arts, Gaeltacht, Sport and Media. So the Creative Ireland programme is based in that department. It's a Government of Ireland all-of-government initiative, which was established in 2017 to enable the creative potential of people, communities to enhance their well-being and the collective well-being of society. It supports new ways to participate in creative and cultural activities. And it's now in its kind of second phase, which is running up until 2027, and is based around 5 main pillars. They are creative communities, under which John mentioned Creative Communities on a Shared Island was rolled out there recently. There's creative industries, creative health and well-being, and creative action and sustainability. And then finally, creative youth, under which this scheme is based. So the Creative Youth Plan, the second Creative Youth Plan, 23 to 27, was launched and published by government in 2023, and aims to place creativity at the heart of children and young people's lives through a series of expanded and new initiatives, both in education and schools and also in the community. So it looks to engage those aged between 0 and 24 years of age, and it ensures children and young people retain a key voice in decision making on its implementation, and it also prioritises those that are seldom heard and most at risk of disadvantage. So you can read more on the Creative Youth Plan, also more in terms of seldom heard children and young people. It's online in our publication section of the website. So Creative Youth on a Shared Island funding scheme. So we're delighted to be able to work with the Department of Taoiseach, and this funding scheme will seek to build on the experience and expertise of organisations that work throughout the creative, cultural, arts, community and youth sectors to reach and engage young people across the island of Ireland. So it's looking for projects that bring those aged 0 to 24 years of age from different communities together. As Tanya kind of said, actually kind of meeting for meaningful engagement, and it should nurture a sense of collaboration, understanding and hope for the future through creative projects. So what are we looking for? So projects kind of from partnerships that are of significant scale and ambition, that want to work with children and young people up to the age of 24. So we envisage a maximum grant of up to €180,000 per project and funding at least 3 projects. So we're kind of really excited to see kind of what might come our way. So each project should be delivered by a number of partners working in collaboration, and that the time frame would run anytime from around June 2024 up to December 2025. So it can vary in length of time, but between that time frame. So due to the commitment within the Creative Youth Plan to kind of target young people who are considered seldom heard, it would be hoped that at least one project could target a cohort in this category, and you can learn more about that within the Creative Youth Plan. It's very broad, and there's kind of many different cohorts that will be under the kind of term seldom heard. So you can learn more in the Creative Youth Plan. So the objectives of the funding scheme is to use culture and creativity to connect young people across the island of Ireland, providing a space for meaningful interactions. So it's collaboration on a shared island basis, so it can create sustainable legacies into the future. So young people are at the heart of the creative process, so leading on important aspects and decisions throughout the process of the project. So it's looking to enable paths for children and young people, including those that are seldom heard, to access opportunities for creative and cultural participation. And so it's looking for a greater understanding of the value of consensus among young people around a shared future, and to identify common themes of importance. And also it'll enable young people to experience creativity through the lens of their peers. So defining creativity, the Creative Youth Plan, it gives kind of a great kind of broad overarching definition of creativity, and we would consider many forms of activity creative. So we have just a number of listed here, and there's more, but it can range from circus to film. It can be traditional arts to augmented and virtual reality, podcasting, architecture, heritage, fashion, comedy. The list is quite substantive, and so we're open to all. Of course, some projects might kind of know what type of creativity they may engage young people in. Other projects may let the young people really have a voice, kind of lead in what they want to do in terms of the creative activity. So the projects really should connect and engage across all communities and traditions. They should really ensure children and young people are at the heart of decision making and development of the creative project, using best practice. It should commit to supporting children and young people to access culture, creativity and the arts. And it should evaluate and report on the process and outcomes with input for the children and young people involved. So as a kind of a learning organisation, Creative Ireland is always interested in evaluation of projects, and it's learning, the good and the bad, what were the challenges, as well as what were the successful parts of the project. It's because it's really about learning, and that kind of inputs into sustainability for the future. So they're particularly our applications are particularly sought which could foster sustained engagement between young people, and they should implement a youth-led approach. So we have a lot of information in our briefing documents through submit.com on the Lundy model of child participation, and that's a really kind of a great framework for ensuring meaningful input from children and young people. So I'd urge you to kind of go through that. Who can apply? So applications must be jointly made. And what's key is that there's at least one partner involved that's based in Ireland and one partner involved that's based in Northern Ireland. But we want them really collaborative, so we welcome kind of a large number of partners working together. The application would seek one lead partner that is identified that could, for the purposes of the application, but also that has kind of the capacity to kind of lead, and manage the kind of agreement, the service level agreement, and interactions with the department. So the applications will be sought for many different types of organisations. For example, youth organisations, community and development organisations, arts, culture, family resource centres, charities or non-for-profit organisations, philanthropic and research bodies, arts and cultural organisations or institutions, networks, museums, galleries, education and training boards, social enterprises, and businesses. So also their applications, local authorities, they can apply as a partner, not as a lead partner, because as was mentioned earlier, there was a Creative Communities on a Shared Island fund that was ring fenced specifically for local authorities, and that was kind of only, that was only open for them to apply. So we welcome local authorities to be a partner for engagement within the community. They just wouldn't be the lead partner on the application. So what I would say as well is, it's intended as a community initiative. So unfortunately, schools can apply, or the project shouldn't. It's not intended that projects target schools, as part of the school day or curriculum. You may be able to use a school premises as a location outside of school hours. So, for example, kind of at the weekend or evening time, or, after school. But it's really this funding scheme is intended kind of for kind of on a community basis. And Creative Youth, though, if you want to go onto our website, it does support a range of school initiatives such as Creative Schools, Creative Clusters, Blast, and Creative Engagement. So further details are available on the work that has been done in the education system on Creative Ireland's website. I'm going to pause there, in terms of who can apply in terms of organisations. So there may be questions about, we may have missed listing specific types of organisations, so you can ask. It is an opportunity to ask here if there is anything missing. But of course, you can always kind of contact us afterwards, or have, kind of run through kind of what, organisation or setup you might have, and we can talk to you afterwards about that. Yeah, an education and training board itself can be part of an application. Okay, there's time for questions at the end, so that there can be more questions on this addressed later. So there's some questions there on types of organizations. So yeah, like tertiary education could be part of an application, events companies also.
Can I just add in there, maybe, Kate, that this isn't, we're not envisaging courses, for universities or further and higher education institutions. Like, this isn't to run a course. I mean, tasters, absolutely. So if universities are applying, it wouldn't be, oh, I'm augmenting my degree course by doing this project. Does that make sense? Schools as delivery partners, Karina, we don't think so. Sorry, I put up earlier, these projects are not taking place in schools. I mean, unless it was sort of you were using the school premises out of hours. And that's, as Kate says, because we do so much in schools. We're currently in 600 schools in the Republic of Ireland doing creative schools and creative clusters across creative youth. So this is very much an out of school programme. Kate, do you want to take some of those?
Yeah. So a partner can also be based from outside of Ireland. So yeah, I mean, the lead partner can be either based in Ireland or the Republic of Ireland. Now you might have some kind of input from someone who's, based kind of, in like in England, as part of the partnership. There can be input from that perspective, but in terms of kind of who would be the lead partner, it would be either an organization that's based in Ireland or Northern Ireland itself. So the idea, I see a question about an age, the age range. So I mean, substantially it would have to be kind of up to the age of 24. Now, like if there's, if you've got working with a group of young people and a couple of them are over that, like they wouldn't be cut off in terms of that, but it's substantially the age group should be kind of up to the age of 24 in terms of that's where creative youth goes. More than two groups collaborate together, absolutely, that's what we're looking for. We want a huge amount of collaboration on one project. If you have students on a tertiary degree, could they do this? So the young people that we work with could be undergoing tertiary education. When we say outside of school, we mean is it's outside of like what we would term kind of primary up to secondary school education.
And Kate, there's an earlier question, can the project be a development of an existing cross-border cultural partnership? Absolutely, no problem.
Yeah, that's it. So again, yeah, the age range would be from 0 up to the age of 24. Like I said, if some are kind of over 25, but substantially it's up to 24, that's fine. Let me see, there's a few more. Have we missed any more?
There's a question here about preschools, not one I'd really thought of.
We'd class them as early learning and care settings, and we can address that specifically maybe in the FAQ document after, if that would be okay. And like we'll have our email address up if you want to kind of engage through email about some questions. But the intention is if there's questions relevant for everyone, we would update it on the FAQs.
There's a question there from Roisin Lonergan. If you got funding through the City Council, I don't know whether they mean north or south, for a cross-border, from us, could you apply again? Yes, you could apply again. I assume you're not the local authority because, as John has said, there's already €850,000 going to local government. So unless it was perhaps an independent group that had got money from Creative Ireland and wanted to apply again, I'm not sure if that answers your question, Roisin.
Just that does the project need to target both children north and south? Yeah, I mean, the idea would be that you would engage young people from across island of Ireland. So it would have to be kind of engagement with participants would have to be from north and south. Yeah.
And Mimi, creative clusters, as I understand, take place in schools. It's an in-school initiative. So I suppose you would have to describe what was happening in the community and not in the school for that creative cluster project to be deemed an out-of-school project. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and an organisation in the north can be a lead partner if they and they can have like a partner in the south.
Zoe, I'm afraid that would be a question for the Department of Education. There is a shared island budget in the Department of Education, but I don't have any details on how that's spent, or maybe if John does, he could put it in the chat.
There's a question about proposals for a broader age range, or if the bid is focused on a specific or targeted. It could be, you could either be targeting a very specific age range or targeting a number of age ranges. It's about kind of, I suppose, the quality of engagement and the project itself. So that's fine. The recording will be available afterwards. It'll be on the submit.com landing page. So we'll update that after the call so you can look back. There was
absolutely, Marina. You can use any creative approach to develop other capacities. We've worked with people using storytelling techniques to build confidence, using theatre techniques to build tolerance and multiculturalism. So that absolutely, we sort of envisage that quite a few projects will take that approach.
You can have 2 partners organizations working in Northern Ireland and 1 in Ireland. Yeah, that's fine. I think it's just at least 1 in each, and then after that it can, roll out and have many different partners on the one project. Because that's, that would be very collaborative. And then you can be you should only be lead partner on one project, but you can also kind of be involved as in some ways a partner on another project.
And maybe, Abby, would you mind answering Mary Sutherland's dates question in the chat?
Yeah, will do.
Yes, a project for children with autism in a cross-border area is certainly eligible, but obviously they would need to be children with autism diagnoses on both sides of the border.
There's more time for questions, so will I move on in the slides and we can still answer away then? We'll still have more time. So if we move on to the marking scheme, maybe. So this is available on the briefing document, but here's an idea of the kind of criteria that the proposals will be marked against. So the criteria are the project idea and it's a creative approach. Now, like I said, you may not have that like fully defined, like, I'm going to work in theatre or like technology. It can be, kind of letting young people lead. So it could be kind of tasters or letting them have and it's about kind of how you think you will approach create it creatively. So in terms of as a project team. So approach to facilitating strong participation from young people, north and south in the project development and delivery. So like we said, we've got information online about the Dundee model of participation. So I definitely recommend you kind of read that. The experience of reaching and working with effectively with children and young people. And also, if you're like working kind of if you're targeting a certain cohort, like what experience might you have of engaging with those children and young people. There is marks for the project team track record and feasibility, and then how you plan on evaluating and documenting the project as you go along. So.
And maybe, Kate, I'd just kind of underscore for people, if you wouldn't mind dropping back there, Sarah, like it is a sort of, it's like a balanced seesaw. Like it has to be a strong creative approach. You may already be doing great things with young people, and sort of the creative element cannot be an add-on. So we're looking for things that are very much bringing people together in a meaningful way with a strong creative approach. So we're hopeful that those 2 things can be of a high standard.
And so there, the projects, there will be kind of a short list listing process, and in terms of kind of there'll be representation on the evaluation team from this department, Department of Taoiseach, and there will be youth representation on the evaluation team as well. So Go on to budget considerations. So we often get questions about what you can kind of use the money for, and you know, the cost may include project management, and that's, you know, often really what's key to projects like this is the project management. So that is really important. You could have a really good idea, but you have to have kind of the capacity and someone dedicated to driving it. So though the costs can include the cost of you know, having someone as a project management, and it can include remuneration. It can include materials that are specifically for the project. It can be the cost of evaluating the project and reporting, and that would have costs and should be included and factored in. And communication and engagement costs as well. So just, you know, just make sure, you know, you've kind of thoroughly thought through what is needed in order to really kind of have meaningful engagement. And as Tanya said earlier, it can also be kind of the travel, because what's really important is getting those young people together and engaging in person. So the cost to do that can be included. You know, there's also on the frequently asked questions document, you know, some kind of an eligible costs. You know, this is not, it's not for like just kind of to fund a once-off event. It's not really for like, you know, a big major capital project, you know, to kind of like, you know, do up kind of a premises or anything. Really what's important is the process of the project itself with those young people. So we go on to important dates. So the fund had opened on the 10th of January. So we're hoping kind of, you know, there's a good lead in time from now, just to kind of make sure that you've kind of time to kind of get together and collaborate. So on the 24th, next week, the 24th of January, up in Belfast at the Crescent Arts Centre, there is an in-person event, a networking event. And then there was a follow-up event on the 8th of February in Dublin in the National Concert Hall. So we really recommend coming along. Like in Belfast, that'd be a really good opportunity for us to kind of meet kind of organisations in person, and kind of to be able to ask more questions, and kind of network amongst yourselves and chat to us as well. And then on the 8th of February, we would really urge kind of like particularly, you know, organisations from across Ireland to aim to be there. Again, it's another really good opportunity to network and get a good project team in place, and we're really trying to kind of support that. So I'd really kind of recommend that you know, be able to try attend kind of an in-person event if you'd like to kind of put in an application. The closing date is on the 25th of March. So it'll yeah, so hopefully there's kind of a good lead in time now to put some good projects together. And then we'll be aiming in around kind of June to be able to inform successful applicants so they can get up and running this year. And we've kind of, you know, just so you know, it'll be subject to a service level agreement, so that drawdowns, while the projects are kind of for the kind of up until December activity, our drawdown deadlines are in November for each calendar year. So if just the next slide, I suppose, gives more details again about registering for the in-person events. So you know, just make sure you kind of have signed up in advance. And then for more information, so the applications will be accepted through submit.com. So we've links everywhere through our website and everything. Submit.com is the place where the application form is. So you have to kind of log in, create an account with submit.com if you haven't used it before, and you go straight into the application form. Be really important to read thoroughly the briefing document and FAQ document, but for more information before you apply. Like we said, we will keep the FAQ document updated if questions we didn't foresee come up. If your query isn't answered by those, you can email creativeireland@tcagsm.gov.ie with the subject line Creative Youth on a Shared Island. Also available on submit.com is the the example of the service level agreement template, you know, under which the agreement would be in place. So just make sure you kind of familiarize yourself with that. That kind of gives you more idea of how the partnership, if you are successful, will be set up. These funds have to be kind of adhere to the circular in terms of grant funding. So it's really important that you familiarize yourself also with that, because drawdowns are based on vouched expenditure as well. So you know, you have to, you know, if you go through that, it'll show you the process and explain kind of the idea of vouched expenditure. So the deadline, 5 p.m. on Monday, 25th of March. And I see there's loads of questions popping up, so we better go back to questions now. So go back.
Yeah, we might stop sharing the screen. We can see each other.
Let me see, just pick up where we left on. So we've
the first question, Kate, was if you're looking for a Northern Ireland partner, do you attend the Dublin event or the Belfast event? My hunch is that you attend the Belfast event. This is all new for us too, but we're hoping that it'll be more Northern based organisations who would come to Belfast. So if you don't have a Northern partner, I'd recommend you go to that.
Yeah. So Joanna, yeah, in terms of letters of partnership and collaboration, yeah, so a part of your application, you can upload, you know, letters of, you know, the, you know, support letters, you know, for the organisations that you tend to work with. Like I said, we would have, you know, you can only be a lead partner on one, but you can kind of be involved in other ways, on other applications as well.
And Kate, the question from A. Galvin, I suppose the best way of putting this, I don't know if A. Galvin is a man or a woman, is can you as an individual be the coordinator of the various organisations? We wouldn't envisage signing a contract for 180,000 with an individual. We envisage that the lead applicant will be an organisation. As Kate has said, we're quite happy to pay for a full or part-time project manager once you get the grant. But for us, it would be unusual to give a grant of that size to an individual artist or individual community activist. The lead applicant would need to be an organisation with bank accounts and audited accounts. Does that make sense? It doesn't preclude lots of individuals getting involved, but we wouldn't be signing, if that answers your question, A. Galvin.
Yeah, and it just, I suppose, the organisation has to have the capacity, I suppose, to, you know, the financial systems and processes in place. They'll be the kind of main liaison with the department, you know, subject to kind of like all the, you know, annual checks and things like that. So there has to be the capacity there.
And Margaret, we haven't quite yet landed on how we're going to run those in-person events, but the whole point is that there's an opportunity for you to explore potential partnerships. So we'll get roundtables, we'll get coffee and nice buns, and we'll leave it up to you. Do you know what I mean? We can't sort of formally put you in touch with somebody else under GDPR, but we can host an event in which you can network to your heart's content. So I hope that helps, Margaret.
Jacqueline, there's yes, the questions are on submit.com. It's an online tool, but actually we will upload kind of a Word version if you want to go through the questions. And yeah, the application form, it's, you know, in English and Irish as well. Could the project take place in 2025 only, or does it have to have a start in the second half of 2024? It can actually start in 2025. Yep. That is fine. Budgets ex-VAT. So I mean, we give kind of out of a grant, so you would have to make sure that your VAT is all in order, you know, as in you would, yeah, like, so our budgets are like, yeah, you would make sure that it covers kind of all the costs, and that we'll give you more guidance on that afterwards, if that's okay, Joanne. I think that's that question.
But to Kate's point, there's a sample, I hate the jargon, but service level agreement. It's like a grant agreement. Have a look at that grant agreement, because that's we don't kind of negotiate on that. That's the grant agreement that the government says we need to issue. So if you have questions like, God, what would I be signing? The sample service level agreement is on the website. So it isn't something, because we've had issues where university legal departments then wish to completely renegotiate the SLA. And I'm afraid, particularly if you're a university applying, you'd be telling your university, this is a take it or leave it service level agreement. You know, it isn't that you can kind of go through all the clauses as another lawyer. We are forced to use this as a template, if that makes sense.
Will applications with multiple partners, North and South, be viewed more favourably than, say, an application with just 2 partners, North and South? I suppose it's not like we don't have the set number. I mean, when we say collaborative, I mean, that brings a lot of different strengths. So different partners have different strengths. So really what it's about is the project team, what the experience is, you know, what they bring to the table. So like, you know, who might have kind of experience, you know, creatively, who has strong experience of working with children and young people. So I don't want to say kind of, you know, that it's not always the great or the better, but it's about, as a project team collectively, what everyone brings to the table. I'm not able to attend the events. Is there another way to share if organisations are looking for partnerships?
I suppose, Mary Ellen, I'd say, Kate, you just need to put your email here in the chat. There's 100 people on the call. Under GDPR, we can't be seen to sort of favour one person by introducing them to another. So I totally understand that, unfortunately, you can't attend either of those events. But I'm afraid the only, other than that, the only thing I can suggest is putting your email in the chat here if you want people to contact you.
And I think that's similar to the question, is there any way to put your project idea out there with opportunity to attract project partners who might share your interest? So I suppose it kind of, other than the kind of the 2 events that we have, you know, it's really up to kind of yourselves to kind of after that, you know, kind of network and try meet. I mean, there's lots of available information online, particularly in creative youth, you know, on our website, you know, what are the organizations we, you know, and type of creativity that we've engaged in before. So, you know, if you're looking to know what's out there, you know, you've got Arts Council or Northern Ireland, Arts Council in Ireland, the Creative Ireland website. So there's lots of information out there about different organizations.